Artur Beterbiev, though, he showed that he's the real deal.
He's the real life Terminator. He's getting up there in age, but for some reason, he's able to maintain this high level boxing.
But do you think that could be attributed because of the high testosterone? I feel like that needs to be addressed.
The jab was so precise, so strong. Even Callum Smith was a bit surprised that it was doing so much damage. You know, just that jab was messing up Callum Smith's face.
Mbilli, he was calling out for Canelo. Now with this victory, do you think he has the skills to beat Canelo?
This performance definitely displayed that he is more of a one-dimensional fighter.
And I think he just wants that Canelo payday, you know, the payday. You want payday.
Since it's a mystery opponent, it kind of tells me that it's not going to be Deji.
Dude, it can't. Did you see that video of Deji drunk?
Absolutely plastered out in public. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be ashamed if I was Deji and KSI.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Last Round Podcast. Let's dive right into it, you know. We had our first super fight of the year, Artur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith. Overall, this card was very entertaining, you know, from the main event to the and to some of the prelims, which we will get into in a bit. But first off, I'd like to start off with the main event, you know, Artur Beterbiev, the undefeated Russian, going up against Callum Smith, a very tall, very formidable opponent. UK former champion at 168, moving up to 175, and trying to look for, you know, to become a 2-division champion. Artur Beterbiev, though, he showed that he's the real deal. He's been the real deal, and he keeps showing it despite his age. What are your guys' thoughts about Artur Beterbiev?
Yeah, he's the real life Terminator. Like, heavy-handed, naturally, you know, super high boxing IQ, which I feel is underrated. He really has it all. I mean, there's very few people that can stand in his way. So far, no one has been able to last a full fight with him. So I'm honestly, he keeps on surprising me, even though he is 39 years old. Like you said, he's getting up there in age, but for some reason, he's able to maintain this level of activity and this level of just high level boxing.
Yeah,
which is crazy to see.
Well, I think we got to, congrats to him. You know, it was a good victory against a guy who, you know, has never been stopped in the pros or as an amateur. So, you know, props to him. And he did it being the older guy, you know what I'm saying? He is at the age where a lot of people are, you know, considered retiring, or they're definitely on the decline, you know, when it comes to athletic performances and whatnot. But do you think that could be attributed because of the high testosterone and stuff like that? I feel like that needs to be addressed.
It could be addressed, but I feel the boxing community made a bigger, they made it something bigger than what it was. I mean, what they found in Artur Beterbiev was an abnormal finding. It's not the same thing as a positive PED test. You know, they just found his testosterone in the higher range of a healthy person, you know, of a healthy human being. It wasn't in the abnormally high. It wasn't a positive test. They also administered 2 more tests on him, and they both came back negative. I think he is a clean fighter. I just believe, you know, sometimes it could be a multitude of factors: sleep, diet, all these sort of things. You know, the time of day in which the test is taken as well can influence, the testosterone that's shown in your body at a single given moment. So there wasn't a big story around this, but I feel, you know, the boxing community ran with it mainly because
Eddie Hearns,
everybody did.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think Artur Beterbiev is heavy-handed and he's 38 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so people at that age, a lot of boxers have declined, and if he's able to maintain that, maybe some people were already suspicious of him. Yeah. And this, you know, aided their
suspicion or whatever.
Suspicion,
I mean, it is a good thing to kind of address, I think, you know, being 38 and having abnormally high testosterone. But then again, he is a maybe even, you could even say, once in a lifetime fighter, because who has a record of all KOs, 100% KO ratio? That's very abnormal, I would say. So I guess maybe that's probably the reason why he's continuing to perform the way he is. But yeah, he made this look pretty easy, you know, in my opinion. It took him maybe 2 rounds for sure to kind of get his engines warmed up and really started. But once he got them warmed up and started getting to the rhythm, it was really just his fight.
I don't even think he had to get his engine started. From the very first round, he went on Callum Smith. You know what I'm saying? He pounced on him, which was kind of surprising to see. He started very quickly, and he was the one that was on the front foot and kind of, I feel, got Callum Smith off of his game plan. Immediately took initiative in the fight, and it definitely paid off because Callum Smith it felt like he couldn't find his rhythm. He couldn't find his range, even though he is the taller, more lengthy fighter. He had a lot of physical advantages in his favor, yet he couldn't really use them. His timing seemed off as well. Artur Beterbiev just started extremely quickly, and it really helped him in the fight.
I think there was two things. One, the inactivity. I think it was the longest inactivity that Smith has had. It was like a year and 4 months. Mm-hmm. But two, also was just the size of the ring was so small. I think that was probably the smallest ring I had ever seen in my life.
That is actually an interesting point because Artur Beterbiev he's dual citizenship in Canada. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of Canadian fans in Vancouver, or not Vancouver,
Quebec City, yeah.
Quebec City, yeah. He had a lot of fans there. I'm sure, they tailored that. They even had a treadmill in his locker room. So he made some special requests to, get a treadmill in there, which I have never seen in a warm-up room for a boxer. But the ring as well, 18 by 18, I think that is actually the smallest a professional ring can be, and it definitely favored a guy like Artur Beterbiev who wants to get on the inside.
Yeah, and just so people can have a put into perspectives, typically a normal ring or a ring that a lot of these professional fights are fought in, mainly 18 by 20, 20 by 20. That's like the normal thing.
Yeah, I'd say 20 by 20.
Yeah, so 18 by 18 is abnormally smaller.
Yeah, I think it actually is the minimum.
Yeah, it's like the minimum, the bare minimum. But yeah, then again, I think that was another thing that really helped Beterbiev. Really, he's a guy who doesn't really move a lot on his feet, and then when he does, it's not that quick. He's a guy who kind of just wants to get into a street fight. He wants the other guy to kind of start brawling and stuff like that. Close range is, that's his bread and butter. So
I don't think so. I don't think he's a street fighter. I mean, he displayed a high boxing IQ.
For sure.
He was outboxing Smith at some points. He was able to hit Smith with an extremely precise and powerful jab from long range, and he would take a quick step back, and Callum Smith would just miss his counters. There was a lot of moments where he was actually gauging the distance. He has subtle defensive tactics, subtle movements, subtle blocks that he utilizes throughout the fight. I think his boxing skills are really underrated because obviously his bread and butter is his punching power.
Yeah.
That is what he is known for. But he definitely has a lot of skills. He moves actually quite well. He might not be the quickest, but I think his timing makes up for it.
Yeah, his timing makes up for everything. And, to top it all off, the tremendous power that comes from both hands and stuff like that. But I think I misspoke. It's not that he just wants to, brawl it out, but it's just that he really wants his opponents to engage in a firefight. Does that make sense? They don't want he doesn't want them to start boxing, do a little flick here or there, the jab, speed, and whatnot. He really wants him to start kind of really just getting him into a fight, close range, inside for sure. Yeah, and he does a pretty good job of whether it's him initiating it or it's him kind of in a sense playing possum where the opponent goes and then he just is able to switch it up, which is kind of surprising to me because he's a guy who is pretty slow and he's able to think about stuff like that. Like there was many instances where he's just kind of letting Smith get off on him, gets him to the ropes, and he just switches it up. Then he has Smith on the ropes. That's something that I think a lot of people, because of his KO ratio and his knockout powers, I think a lot of people tend to overlook stuff like that.
They definitely overlook his skill. I mean, he's over 300 amateur fights, I believe.
It's crazy. Yeah,
he has a lot of experience in the ring, and he might not be the quickest. His footwork might not be the best, but he does do subtle things in the ring that definitely show you he definitely has a high boxing IQ.
Yeah, one of the things he did though was from the first round started digging at the body, because he knew that Smith was gonna try to box him, use his short. At least that's what they thought he was gonna do. Try to use his range, try to use his height, his physical attributes to, maybe circle around, try to box and keep him at range. And I mean, one way to stop, something, a fighter like that is to dig at the body. And especially Callum Smith is what, like 6'3", a very tall fighter. So that torso is very long, and it's there to be hit. So Beterbiev from the first round, he started trying to pay dividends or try to work on the body, and it paid dividends in the end of the fight. Because Callum Smith at many points, early like in the third, fourth round, he was beginning to just stay put, back on the rope, and that's where when you're up against Beterbiev or even like any type of hard aggressive puncher, I mean that's the most dangerous place to be at in the ropes. So I think Beterbiev, like you said, has very underrated skills, very underrated IQ, and I think it has to come with just the way he kind of fights. It's kind of, I want to slightly a little unorthodox, the way he fights, but I mean, it shows that even though it may be a little unorthodox, it works every single time. 100% knockout ratio. You know what? I don't think I believe I've ever seen a fighter that heavy-handed. Like naturally heavy-handed, because he touches you like, okay, pause. Once he lets his hands go, he doesn't even have to load any power into it. His hands are just naturally heavy, and any touch from his fist is gonna leave damage. It's gonna start breaking you, and I don't know if I've ever seen a fighter like that. With that type of natural power.
Yeah, I mean, I think another key for Beterbiev this fight was that jab. The jab was so precise, and it was also so strong. I think even Callum Smith was a bit surprised that, it was a simple jab that was getting through, but it was doing so much damage. Just that jab was messing up Callum Smith's face. And it helped Beterbiev a lot, get Callum Smith out of his rhythm, helped him set up his stronger punches like his right hand, and it just kept him busy. And I feel his jab was spectacular this past Saturday.
Yeah, not only that, but I think another thing that just because he has like Beterbiev knows he has tremendous power, God-given power, and just like any other but the thing that I feel like that sets him apart from other fighters that also hit hard, like the guy in the co-main event, he hits pretty hard. What was it, 25 wins, 21 by knockout, and it looked in the fight, he was not only was he strong but also heavy-handed. The thing is that sets him apart from other fighters like him is that Beterbiev actually takes his time, which is kind of interesting. A guy who has tremendous power, you almost assume, or it's almost naturally like a given that the guy is gonna want to come forward and really demonstrate his power and really swing maybe hard and stuff like that. Maybe trying to end it early. Beterbiev likes to take his time and stuff like that, breaks his opponents little by little until he sees in a moment an opening, and then he gets him.
Yeah, he sets it up.
Yeah.
He doesn't just go in there and just start throwing punches.
He's a thinking man. He's a thinking man.
There,
Yeah.
And he tries to take his opponent's best quality and just absolutely destroy it. Just like Callum Smith. He wanted to fight on the outside. He wanted to fight at his range. But Callum Smith could not find his range, even though he's the longer, taller fighter. Beterbiev took that away from him so easily with that jab. And once he took it away, the fight was over. It was all Beterbiev. It was just a domination.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, like he also switches it up with the speed and stuff like this. Sometimes the punch isn't even going that fast, but he puts them together almost in a sense where like he gets in this case Smith on the ropes, and he just lets a 3-4 punch combination go, and they're doing damage, even though just from like the shoulders or whatever, they're coming with power.
Yeah, he doesn't have to load it.
No,
it's literally
he
stone
understands.
Hands. Artur Beterbiev has stone hands, God given. He just doesn't have to load his punches at all. He could just throw them like a regular punch, and they do so much damage. It's crazy to see. Yeah,
and not only that, but also he ties it up really perfectly with technique as well. I feel like every punch that he lands is just the first two knuckles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Also, one of the things that really surprises me about Beterbiev is his output. Was it the third?
It was the fourth round.
The fourth round. He threw 102 punches. Was it for a light heavyweight? I don't think I've ever seen a light heavyweight throw that many punches in one round. That was insane. That's a crazy pace to be throwing. Because I mean, he hit Callum Smith with like a 40 punch barrage, man.
he had him on the ropes and he just let his hands go. Callum Smith just couldn't defend.
No, it was crazy. Yeah, the thing is, back to his natural power, man. Even you can have like a full high guard, and he hits you with a 1-2, and even though it might hit your high guard, it like splits you right open. You know, it's like a straight up Hajime no Ippo moment.
Yeah.
It's like not as exaggerated, but it's just something like that. You know, he's with such a power like that, he's still able to break your guard, and he just pierces right through it.
Yeah, he breaks through the guard, which is it's kind of scary for the opponent, man. Because it's like you pretty much have to be perfect now and rely on like head movement, and the guy has to completely miss. Even if he lands on your hands and you have block it, it's gonna crash right through, and it's still gonna do damage to you.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's just, I don't know. It's just unfathomable. It's crazy power.
Mm-hmm.
It's power that I just can't comprehend how someone could have. You know, be that heavy-handed. So yeah, Beterbiev showcased why he's probably the best light heavyweight in the world.
Is he?
Because
This is the question now. Artur Beterbiev was able to. He has been able to crush every single person in his path. And there's only one man standing in his way now on his road to undisputed, and that's Dmitry Bivol.
That's a hard fight. In my opinion, that's probably, you know, people were saying last year, oh, Spence and Crawford 50-50. This one might be a more 50-50.
This one might be a 50-50.
Because, look, you have Dmitry Bivol on one end who, he may lack the punching power, you know, but his output, his IQ, and his sense of range is just, you know, it's very hard to beat someone like that. Every single fight he's fought, and he just UDs everyone, you know. He's just a high level boxer, you know. His skills, his technique, they're flawless. He bounces up and, you know, back and forth, breaks you with fast combinations, up in the head, down to the body, and it's very, like I said, very hard to beat someone like that. Whereas Beterbiev, he may not be like that, but he just, I mean, you have to be perfect all 12 rounds, you know, and hope that he doesn't land anything hard on you. But I mean, everyone who's tried has fallen, so that fight is really hard for me to decide on the winner.
Yeah, it's like a 50-50. Like it's crazy that there's such polar opposites in terms of style, yet neither style really has the upper hand. Like a master boxer versus just a Terminator, someone an unstoppable force. Like I don't think anyone is as strong as Artur Beterbiev at 175.
At 175, it's yeah. I'm trying to think. Maybe the other guy who I can think of who can maybe match his strength is Ramirez, because he's huge.
Ramirez, he moved up to cruiserweight, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
There's no one. Yeah, then there's no one.
200 pounds. That boy was not. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing at light heavyweight.
I don't know how he was making that weight, if I'm going to be honest. But going back to the topic at hand, Bivol and Beterbiev, I think it's really a 50-50 fight. It's I mean, you got to look at the facts. You got two guys who are undefeated in their own weight classes. They've been there since like the start of their pro career. They've been there. They've dominated. Their bodies have accustomed to that weight. And then you see why they're undefeated. Their styles, like you said, one guy, superb boxer, has incredible boxing skills, understands range and timing, has a really good what you call a pendulum type of style. On the other hand, you got Beterbiev, who, as you said, is a Terminator, is a guy who just doesn't stop coming forward. You can't really stop him from coming forward, and it seems as though he's got bricks in his gloves. Not only that, but he can also take a punch as well. So I think the only way to kind of like, if I were to put money on either fighter, would be the size of the ring. Like if the size of the ring, like if they were to fight later this year, and it was an 18-by-18 ring, I think I would put my money more on Beterbiev. But if the ring was bigger, I would probably swing a little bit more towards Bivol. But that's just me.
Yeah. What I like about it is that we are probably going to get this fight later this year. You know, Bob Arum was asked about it, and he says that, you know, the people of Saudi Arabia want to put this fight on. They're actively trying to put this fight on. We already had some negotiations with Bivol and Beterbiev. You know, if Beterbiev was successful in getting past Callum Smith, which he just did, that fight may be going on after Ramadan, which I believe it might be like in the summer, early summer, somewhere around there. We're gonna get an undisputed, which is what I like to see.
Yeah,
You know, big
boxing,
fights being made
yeah.
already, like just like that.
Yeah, that's good, right? You finally boxing starting to, wake up, and thank you, Saudi Arabia.
you, Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia.
Your Excellency. Thank you so much, because these fights we need them. And undisputed at 175. I don't know. I don't think it's ever been done before. This might be the first undisputed fight at that weight class, and it's against two fighters who are just top class elites. And you could say two top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world.
Absolutely.
That's kind of crazy to have. I guess the last one was the Spence and the Crawford. That was the last pound for pound fighters, mega fight that happened. So this next one is going to be huge. So yeah, we have those fights for Saudi Arabia. Hopefully they're able to be made, or actually able to come into fruition as early as they can, because I want to see that fight ASAP, Hopefully first half of the year. But Callum Smith, this man fought Canelo, lost against them, moved up to 175. He only had 2 fights leading up to the fight against Beterbiev, and he only had 6 rounds in total, because he ended up absolutely destroying his opposition with 2 brutal knockouts. And after this fight against Beterbiev, he kind of, of course he was a bit upset about it, but he kind of hinted at some sort of retirement. And for Callum Smith, he tried it. During the fight, you could tell he was trying his best. He's trying his hardest. I actually had him win. I had him winning. I actually was picking him to win.
Yeah, you both got it wrong.
We both got it wrong.
Got it right. I knew Beterbiev was gonna win. I knew it.
It's because I paid so much. I don't know. My way of thinking for Smith pulling the upset was, 1, he was younger. 2, the left hook. And 3, I was thinking, maybe Beterbiev came off from a pretty hard fight against Yard. He took some heavy loads, pause. Yeah, but Callum Smith took, heavy leather throughout the fight. It was not even like the second round that his face was already showing signs of, damage. And after the fight, he looked like he got hit by a truck, man. He looked absolutely battered. But I mean, respect to him. He took the risk. He tried it. Came up short, but I mean, his only 2 losses were against Canelo and now Artur Beterbiev. And honestly, I mean, having 2 losses against 2 pound for pound fighters, it's not a bad thing, in the long run. And I think he accomplished enough in his career. If he is actually deciding retirement, I believe he's accomplished enough in his career to kind of, not only just live a good life, with the money he's earned, but I mean, he left a pretty good legacy especially for a UK fighter.
Yeah, I mean, he got to world championships. He got to world championship status, and at the end of the day, I mean, that's every boxer's dream, right? Getting a strap, getting a belt from a world title organization. So yeah, I mean, if he doesn't feel he has the fuel anymore to compete at the elite level, he just got off a super long layoff, took a loss. It's a bit hard to come back from that, but I'm sure if he wants to continue, Eddie Hearn would absolutely love to have him. I know Eddie Hearn loves him. So we'll just have to see. It's all up to him at this point now.
Yeah, I also like his little fact. When they were doing the ring announcements, showed that he was gonna get engaged or married in July.
Oh really?
Yeah, wow. That's funny. Anyway, so I guess he has that to look forward to. A summertime wedding. Well, yeah, that was the Artur Beterbiev. Hopefully we get a Bivol fight in the future. But moving down the list, we're going to go down to the co-main event. Between Mbilli,
Christian Mbilli.
Christian Mbilli versus Rohan Murdock,
Yeah,
an
Murdock.
Australian. A French versus an Australian. Yeah, this fight was, very damn entertaining. Mbilli came in as the big favorite. And he showcased a lot of power, a lot of aggression, and Rohan Murdock showed a lot of a big ass chin
and a lot of heart.
And a lot of heart. This fight was kind of crazy. What are you guys' thoughts about that co-main event?
It was a very entertaining co-main event. I mean, Mbili's style is a come forward, do not stop coming forward type of style. He just wants to get on the inside. He wants to get his head in his opponent's chest, and then just start throwing punches. And that's what he did. And Murdock did not back down. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to win the fight. He did a little bit of showboating in between rounds, even during the rounds. But yeah, it was a clear one-sided victory for Mbilli. But I think Murdock, his display of heart just made the fight very entertaining.
Yeah, because of him, like I think it was Bernardo Osuna. He said that it looks like Murdock didn't get the memo, meaning he is the B side, going against a guy who's heavy handed, and he could have easily taken a knee and just called it quits, because that guy, you could tell he has quite a bit of power. But I mean, just the sheer heart and the courage that Murdock was displaying that night, he was trying his best to try to weather the storm, but he fell short. But either way, after that, Mbilli said he was calling out for Canelo, and he won. So now with this victory, do you think he has the skills to beat Canelo?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good victory, right? Good victory, and he got the KO, the TKO, which is the best you can ask for, in terms of a decision. But I think this performance definitely displayed that he is more of a one-dimensional fighter. He relies, I think, too heavily on his aggression and his come forward style, that he hasn't really, focused a lot on his defense or his footwork or, his waist movement. A lot of things are lacking for him. And, at the very elite level, these little things, it might be nitpicking, but these little things matter. And these little things will show up against a guy like Canelo, who pretty much has mastered the sport of boxing. These little things will show up. So, do I think he's ready for Canelo? No. Did he show out a great performance? Yes. But I definitely don't think. I think he still needs a lot more time if he wants to call out the head honcho at the 168 division.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, when he called him out, they've also mentioned it before his fight that he had been calling out for a Canelo fight, and I think he just wants that Canelo payday. The payday. You want payday, but yeah. So he still has a lot of flaws. He gets hit way too much. But a fun fight for him. Like we say, boxing's all about styles. Styles makes fight. And a good fight for him would be the winner of Jaime Munguia versus John Ryder. In my opinion, that would be a cracking fight. The winner of that, because Jaime Munguia is essentially nearly the same as Mbilli. A come forward, aggressive fighter, and he's Mexican, so he's not gonna back down from an action packed fight like that. So I'd rather see Mbilli fight fighters like John Ryder, Jaime Munguia, and maybe try to build himself up, to try to fight maybe David Morrell in the future, or maybe even David Benavidez if Benavidez doesn't decide to go up to 175 if he ever gets that Canelo fight. Regardless, I think Mbilli is a pretty good fighter to have. He's a pretty entertaining TV type of fighter to watch. He gets the casual fans entertained, because I was entertained. I didn't really know much of him. They mentioned that he was an Olympian for the French team in 2016. So, regardless of that, I still didn't really know much. So this was kind of my his breakthrough fight for me, to see. And I liked him. I liked his style. Obviously, I don't think he's ready yet for the top elites at 168, but he showcased a lot of potential, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of him, especially against the fighters that I mentioned, Munguia or John Ryder.
Yeah, I think those are great fights for him. Get his name out, because I feel I hadn't heard of him that much either. I think he has a great record, and he actually is ranked pretty highly in, I don't remember what organization, whether it was the WBC or WBO, one of those organizations. He's actually ranked pretty highly, I think top 5.
Oh, wow.
But he wasn't really well known, and I think he kind of needs fights like this. Imagine he gets a victory over Jaime Munguia. Now his name is out there. Now he can maybe start taking shots at big fights like, I don't know, David Benavidez, David Morrell, or Canelo,
Killer Plant,
Plant, Charlo. So yeah, I mean, it's up to him. He didn't really have a name, so I think that's what he has to do. Build bigger fights, because I can guarantee you Canelo was not listening to that call.
Canelo was not listening. Some of the other guys that I can think of within the division, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, David Morrell. I think these are guys who are level A fighters, top of the game, top of their weight division. I think he's not there yet. I think he needs to, like what you said, still continue to build up, having more fights, and then having wins against notable guys and stuff like that. And then definitely he can kind of negotiate or just kind of say that, I beat this guy, now I really want to go for the top guys in my weight class. So I mean, he needs to continue doing that. But other than that, I mean, I know it kind of seems like we're sounding like a little bit of haters, but I mean, that's just kind of how it is.
That's just that's the thing. That's the problem with, when you're talking about the elite levels. This guy's calling out Canelo. He's a good fighter. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad fighter. His aggression is definitely hard for a lot of people to withstand. You know what I'm saying? To deal with. He has extremely a lot of pressure, a lot of power. He knows what he's doing. Good engine. He throws a lot of punches. But if you're fighting against a guy like Canelo is levels above this guy. So then once you compare him to a guy like Canelo, yes, you're going to start pointing out the flaws that he has. His lack of footwork, his head movement isn't that good, his defense, all these type of stuff. So it's nitpicking, but it's because he wants to challenge the elite.
Yeah, and that's what's payday. It's he has everything to game for than, the other guy, Canelo, or some of these other top level guys. It's the same thing with Bobo Andrade, really. Bobo, he'd really never proved himself. I'm not even sure how he got that belt. And then he was trying to call out Canelo for the longest time. Never got it. He got a chance against one of the other A-level fighters and, came up short.
And got whooped.
Yeah.
Got whooped, yeah. So, yeah, Christian Mbilli, for me, put his name out there. And hopefully he continues to build off this fight. And try to work on some things, try to maybe work on his footwork or maybe even his head movement, his defense most of all, because Rohan got a couple licks in, licks in there. But ultimately, also Rohan, I'd like to see more of him. Murdock, yeah, I mean, I like his heart, so if, maybe have him come again to Top Rank or any other DAZN, Golden Boy, whatever. So that was Christian Mbilli showcasing his skills and his emphatic style, and winning in great fashion. Now we move on to the last fight of the prelims, which was a world championship fight in the bantamweight division between Jason Maloney defending his title against Sanchez. And this fight is already considered amongst a lot of boxing fans, as a fight of the year contender. I think this fight showcased how well Naoya Inoue's, win is aging. It's aging like wine. Because Jason Maloney, I said it before, he's a great fighter. And Inoue made him look ordinary. But ever since that fight against Inoue, Maloney has gone. And now this being his 6th consecutive win streak. And he's defended his championship. And he did it against a very tough and very, focused on his game Mexican-American Sanchez, who's trained by Manny Robles. So what are you guys' thoughts about that fight?
Yeah, I mean, a firefight. The firefight until the last round, the last bell, they were swinging. They both showed damage. Both of their eyes were completely messed up. And I think the scorecards also reflected how close the fight was. It was a majority decision towards Maloney. Where one judge had it a draw and the other two had it towards Maloney. And that sparked a little bit of controversy, actually. Some people, the consensus, more people thought it was actually a draw than it should have been a win against Maloney. But it's a close fight, you know what I'm saying? One of the judges had it a draw. The other two judges gave 2 more rounds to Maloney. It's not impossible to see. I wasn't angry with the scorecard. I think it was a valid scorecard. It displayed that the fight was close, the fight was competitive, and that's what it was.
Yeah, I did see a little bit of a backlash online and stuff like that. A lot of people saying that they weren't really agreed with the scorecards, or they even mentioned Robbery. I mean, it was close. It was a good fight. I mean, you could say Saul Sanchez won the fight, but I mean, he's the B side. He's going against the guy who's the A and his own promotion and stuff like that. So I mean, you kind of have to do a little bit more and stuff like that to kind of like make it seem as though you came on top or whatever. But Sanchez really shouldn't have anything to be sad about or whatever. So it was a good fight. I think this fight also helped them. I think this was his first world title appearance. So this kind of should put things into perspective. Like, he is maybe up there as well. You know what I'm saying? Maybe against another guy. I mean, he could get the win and he could become a world champion.
So they're also talking about running it back too.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, and I don't think the boxing community would be opposed to either. A lot of people liked the fight. A lot of people liked both of the fighters.
Yeah.
You know, so and it was a close fight. Some people thought Sanchez won. Why not? Why not run it back?
Yeah, why not run it back? We'll just have to wait and see what if Jason wants to do it too. So yeah, we'll just have to go and wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah, Jason Maloney showcased that he learned a few things from the Inoue loss. And I think one of the things that did play a factor was, like you mentioned, this was Sanchez's first 12-rounder, and Maloney during the championship rounds looked like the veteran. Yeah, he turned it up. He showed the championship, the champion qualities that he has, that he's, because he's shown that he's been in these situations and in these rounds as well. And he kind of tried trying to take Sanchez to deep waters. And I mean, even though he wasn't fully able to, because Sanchez did end up that final round. I don't know. That final round was crazy. The 11th round was insane. I don't know. This whole round, the whole championship rounds were insane. But he was able to take the edge because he's just a champion who's been able to experience these types of rounds before. So that's what played to his advantage throughout that fight. But yeah, so that was 3 fights. 3 of the big highlights from this past top ranked card between Artur Beterbiev and Smith. Great fight. Great fights, I should say. Great moments. I think this is, like I said, the best card of the year so far. But you know what's gonna top that card?
What is?
Next week's Misfits 12. Let's go. We have Ed Matthews headlining the show against a mystery opponent.
Nobody.
Oh man, going into the influencer scene. Very briefly, we have, like I mentioned right now, Ed Matthews, the man who destroyed Swarms in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Is taking on a mysterious fighter. Who could it be? Is it Pineda? Is it Jay Swingler? Is it KSI dropping to 168? I don't know, man.
I don't know why Misfits does that. I think, do they really believe that this builds a lot of intrigue?
Yes.
Honestly, I would argue that it doesn't. I would argue that it kind of defeats the whole purpose. We want to see who he's fighting so we can be like, oh, this is going to be a good fight. Or if it's a shit opponent, then, oh, it's going to be a shit fight.
I mean, but their last mystery opponent was Pineda. And that was pretty hype. You can't lie.
That was hype.
That was pretty hype.
Pineda is a meme. That's why. He was a meme, and then they brought Pineda out. And I ain't going to lie, that entrance was smooth as fuck. I'm going to be honest with you. They got the mariachi band playing that shit. Oh, my God, that was hitting. Pineda came out. Okay, I understand why it was popular. But, I mean, I think they're overusing it at this point. I don't think it's that effective. I think they should have just announced the fighter. And I think it shows that it's not going to be a very big-named opponent either. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think so?
Imagine,
it is a headliner.
Yeah, but imagine, like, if it was, like, KSI or something. Like,
well, they are mentioned. There's some rumor that it's Jay Swingler.
That's a weak opponent, to be honest.
You think of for Ed Matthews?
Yeah. Maybe for not for Ed Matthews, actually, but...
Well, Ed Matthews, like I said, he's coming off a very destructive 10-second KO on the legendary Swarms, the man who one-punched Ryan Taylor, bro.
Yeah. Didn't Jay Swingler retire?
Yeah, he did it, but, I mean...
He's back.
He may be back, who knows. He's like the boxer, they retire, but then they miss the sport, and then they come back. I don't know. Those are the rumors right now. That's Jay Swingler. Are they true? I don't know.
I mean,
wait, imagine this Deji.
That's what that would do. Yeah. But since it's a mystery opponent, it kind of tells me that it's not gonna be Deji.
Dude, it can't. Did you see that video of Deji drunk?
Absolutely plastered out in public. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be ashamed if I was Deji and KSI. You know what I'm saying? Deji was seen out in public, absolutely blackout drunk. And his friends were helping him out, so it was crazy to see.
I think we covered everything that we wanted to go over for this episode. Let us know down below. Is Artur Beterbiev him? Is he the man to beat the man that beat the man? Let us know down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. It'll help us a ton. We're also on all forms of social media. We are on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Don't forget to follow us on Discord in the link down below and help us build this community that we're trying to build. And back to the whole commenting. Make sure to comment anything you guys want to comment. Make sure to comment about our setup, about us, about our thinking, and just let us just share with us, what you guys are thinking about boxing. Regardless, this was Pablo with Asa and Rudo, And this was the Last Round podcast. Thank you for watching.